I just did all that muted. Oh man, thank you, Yale. I'm sorry. I'm gonna do it again then. Good morning to everybody. That stinks that I started the show that way. I'm all flustered now. I just got to hang out with a few people before the show started, and a few people in the chat before the show started. And I'm super excited. Look, I'm just gonna say it. No anon, no person, nobody in this movement, no patriot is above another. Every single person out here brings something to the table. Every single one of us is important. We will not win this war unless we figure out how to put our emotions aside and win together, right? So I believe that 100%. However, at the same time, I'm a normal person. So when I get to hang out with absolute legends in my mind as the people that are coming on here today, and I get to ask questions for everybody that's out there in the movement, like as a representative, I think, as for everybody, and get to talk to and pull information from guys that I look up to so much. It's just nothing less than a blessing. So with that being said, let's just do it. We got one extra here today. I didn't know was going to be down there hanging out with the one and only Pepe Deluxe, but look at that. The Vigilant is in camera. What's up, guys? How are you?
What's going on, brother? Thanks.
Just thought I'd take a short drive.
I feel
How long
bad.
the drive is it?
7 hours.
It's just 7 hours.
Yeah, that's all.
The show's important.
Well, hold on a second. Let me bring on the other person that's here right now, because you guys had something going on here I want to talk about. What's up, Bayo?
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing?
Doing great. Look, I'm going to say this before Dr. C gets here. I want to say this to you two, and maybe this might be too personal for everybody that's watching, but I'm saying it in front of everybody for a reason. You two are kind of like, whether you know it or not, you might not be aware, but to me personally, you two are my mentors, right? If I have a question and I'm struggling spiritually, or I need to know something biblically, as I'm still very young in that process, Pepe, you're who I call. And sometimes you call me when I don't even realize I need it, and then by the end of the phone call, I'm like, damn, that was right on point. God works in really funny ways. And then AO, if there's something logically or ethically or anything that I'm going through within this movement that I need advice on, you are my go-to, bro. I call you instantly because I know that I'm going to get an honest, real, logical advice. So I appreciate you both.
Thank you.
Your words are far too kind, but I thank you. Yeah, I think what you said earlier is on point. I mean, we are all here trying to figure this out shoulder to shoulder, and no one is above another. I think that's incredibly important to me. Some people get worried about like caste system, but it's just it doesn't exist in my mind. Yeah, we win together or we lose, individually, but across the board.
Well, I don't want to leave out the man in the back of the camera on Pepe Deluxe's camera over there, because the Vigilant and I have spent countless hours on the phone going over what's going on, the different levels of red pilling across the interwebs and things like that, and bouncing ideas off of each other. And he's been on here multiple times. So I'm stoked that you popped in, Vigilant. It's good to see you.
Happy accident.
Yeah.
He didn't know anything until he came, and I'm like, oh, by the way, we're not going to eat lunch. We're going to be on a show.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I'll tell you what, I was so stuck in my rabbit holes. Look, I worked night shift for the last 7 days, and last night I got off early, and I came home and I got to see Kim for the first time in like 4 days. And nice. So I got stuck in my little rabbit holes when I had time to do it. But you guys were saying what's going on. Well, let me say this quick. Dr. IET is coming for everybody that's unaware or knows that
he's sounded very gay.
G-H-E-Y.
Dr. C, Dr. Craig, IET.
Will be here shortly.
Yeah, he's coming at 12:30. He's actually
he'll be here.
He's taking his time on his lunch break to come see us. So he won't be here till 12 or his 12:30, our 1:30. But you guys were telling me about this ivermectin thing. So let's talk about that until he shows up.
Yeah. Pepe, why don't you jump in there?
Well, the FDA is finally admitting the truth that ivermectin's good for you, and Trump was right about everything, basically.
How many conspiracy theories is that in a row, by the way?
What was that question, AO? I missed
Well,
it.
how many conspiracy theories have we been right on? I mean, at this point, it's upside down. I mean, we're across the board. It's just
even the
time
things
after
I
time.
question him on, he'll end up being right on it. Even though I think I'm right on everything, probably when everything comes out, I'll be wrong on a couple of things.
Yeah.
I don't know. I doubt it. You never know.
Yeah, I think it's overall. I just look back, and obviously the pandemic was unprecedented. Nobody could have foreseen that coming necessarily. I guess except the people that perpetrated it,
Right?
Created the virus and released it. But that aside, when we're talking about HCQ and ivermectin, the main problem, as most of you probably know, is that they work, but they're cheap to make, and that doesn't make the big pharma very happy. And so I mean, think about it, how much fun they made of us. The FDA was telling us that we're not cows or horses, just.
That was the exact quote of the post I put out, was that one that went viral of them talking about that exact thing. So
yeah. And they mocked us. Think about that. So they mocked us. So now they kept people away from using therapeutics and things that would work in order to mock us, because they had to make the people happy over big pharma. The evil.
Plus, we needed the shutdown.
Involved.
We needed the shutdown as well.
Yeah.
Well, they called they called us a bunch of crazy right-wing racist horse pace taking psychos.
Right.
That's what they called us.
And nobody
Which was misinformation. That was misinformation by definition. They
Every
knowingly altered that to affect an outcome. They knowingly did that. And we were the bad guys in that case, when it turns out, once again, we were all telling the truth.
I lost a Facebook over that. Just that cost me a lot, losing that Facebook. Mm-hmm. Just over talking about the Fauci stuff, that now you can speak about it.
So this medicine, apparently, this inexpensive medicine, including penbendazole as well, these are now being brought out into the mainstream as possible cures for cancer. Really?
Right.
Mm.
Well, I think that's the other next shoe to drop, is that some of these alternatives can indeed address some of the larger diseases and things that we face. But yet again, I mean, treating cancer with chemotherapy and big pharma's drugs, it costs, as you guys know, a lot of money. And just the simple idea that you can maybe affect some of these with horse paste, I mean, it blows me away that the damage done and the trust lost, especially when they're trying to turn it around. It's not just that you're wrong, but we were evil. We were hurting people. And it was exactly the other way around. Like, how do you undo that? Because I'm not going to forget about it.
Let's not forget that pre-COVID, in 18 and 19, there were many times when Trump talked about right to try. Remember that?
Yep.
Right to try means, guess what? Anything goes.
Sure.
Can you remember all these big mega churches that had these drives to get people vaccinated? And a lot of the organizations, I don't remember them by heart, but I remember studying them at the time, were forcing the pastors to get vaccinated if they were part of that group or whatever, and making sure that their congregations understood the importance of vaccinations, and they had their little vaccination camps. There's a lot of people that need to be held accountable, in my opinion, for the push.
Frog march them.
Can I ask you guys? Because, so this is my personal experience. My personal experience is that my son was vaccinated behind my back, right? So many of you out there in the Rambo and Frens world are well aware of my situation with my son, including you three. and he was vaccinated without my consent, actually against my will. I asked to be part of the decision making. I asked to be able to ask the doctor questions because I was deeply engrossed with everything that we have been talking about as a movement from day one when it came to COVID. And it was done without my consent, behind my back, and then I was told at a later date that it happened. So I've spent many mornings, I've spent many days before lacrosse games praying. I watched him run up and down fields because I saw all the same videos everyone else did, with athletes dropping on the field and everything else. But I gotta say, honestly, that's my only true real experience. Have you guys had any personal experience with someone being like vax injured or whatever it might be? Let me do this so people don't step on each other. Pepe, Vigilant, you guys want to go first?
My mom took it against my recommendations, and my brother got mad at Trump and blamed him for it. And I've reminded my brother that mom didn't even like Trump, bro. She did it because of the CDC pushed it, you know. So it's a big mind screw every which way you look at it. But I've had people die in their 20s that were our neighbors that we believe it was that. We don't know what, you know, their family don't really, they're not awake to that. You know what I mean? Like, you die in your sleep in your 20s. I'm looking at it sideways no matter what right now. So I've had a couple of those things happen, and others that were vaccinated and died my age and younger. But that's just me.
Right.
Two people removed from many times when we suspected within weeks. A couple of older gentlemen in my wife's family. One of them died a year later, and one of them died 6 weeks after the vaccine. But they were both old. But the point is that we don't know what they died from, but we know that even stories I've heard from other people who know people, we hear of someone taking the vaccine, and then all of a sudden they come down with some illness and they're 35 years old and they die, and you don't realize until you start counting them up. It's like there's been an undue amount of death reported in my circle of people. Why? Like, we don't get that many.
And people who beat cancers, it's hard to measure, you know, like what they call the turbo cancers. It's hard to measure all that, you know?
Yep.
Well, we know that Trump, actually, multiple people at this point are starting to talk about that we're going to cure cancer. Right? We know this movement on the kind of
Joe
crazy
Biden
side.
promised it if he was elected, remember?
Yep, he did. And Donald Trump's been talking about it recently. And we all know that there was a major push early on. That's why I'm pretty stoked to talk to Dr. Craig. But there was a major push early on about med beds and stuff like that. And you know, you kind of got to take some of it for what it is, whether it was to get people excited or grab people by the emotions, or if there's any reality in it. But I'm definitely excited to talk to Dr. C about it. Ayo, what do you think about all this? Did you have any experience?
Well, not directly. You know, friends of friends and friends of family that had definitely been hurt directly. I will tell you this morning, my mother, because she had heard about the ivermectin, and she had bought into some of the crap that was sold, how it wasn't effective, and you know, she has COPD, so she got it. She's a little older, but she asked me this morning, you know, what signs does she need to look out for now? And she's worried that she got, you know, the shot, and that had never happened before, because, you know, she waited out and everyone tells her, and everyone told, you know, and especially when you're looking at a generation where they actually think the government has their best intentions. But yeah, that fear in her eyes was legit, because she sees other people. She volunteers at the senior center, and there's all these other people that have had major problems, and a number of them have died. But as Pepe said, it's hard to kind of parse those out, because people die, right? People get cancer and other things. It's just the prevalence. And when I look back at the last, I don't know how many years now, 3-4 years, and we've seen people falling left and right, athletes. I don't remember that happening before, right? Check my math, but I just don't remember watching athletes just keel over left and right.
We didn't have nearly as many suddenlies.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for the sake of conversation, because I'm not going to discredit anybody's real experience. I'm certainly not going to discredit the things that we saw on TV. But at the same time, I think you guys especially know the way that my brain works. And I do feel as though there's a level of this that is messaging. The sports stuff is hard. Like, remember the kid, who was the dude on the Bills? Fell down and he got taken off on an ambulance. It didn't look right. And,
Oh yeah,
and then
yeah,
he
yeah.
showed
Lamar
up.
Hamlin? Yeah, Lamar Hamlin.
Oh, that's right. Lamar Hamlin. So much of this stuff has been very confusing. And I mean, especially the COVID stuff, Trump's messaging and the vaccine messaging. And, you know, I think we even did this one time on the show, AO, where we showed that Omicron was a distant cousin of the rest of them. And it almost looked as if if I remember right, you said, and quote, tell me if I'm wrong, but you said, and I agreed with you, that it looked like Omicron was almost like that's what Operation Warp Speed was. And it kind of got rid of the rest of it. I don't think any of us, what I'm getting at is knows the complete truth. That I do struggle with what's real and what's being spotlighted and messaged on purpose to grab us by the emotions to motivate us to do something. And I don't want to take from anyone being motivated, but that's what I see happening a lot of the times. Do you understand at all what I'm getting at? AO, do you want to go on that one?
Yeah, I mean, when we're kind of looking at the injury. So what were we talking about here exactly? I'm sorry, go back.
The vaccines and the reality versus the 5th generation warfare side of it.
Yeah. Well, sure. So we don't know exactly, and that's just the thing. I mean, we listened to what's said, but I mean, if you remember, where Trump was talking about bleach, but not for drinking bleach, and light therapies, which we now know is true.
Well, he brought up ivermectin as well.
Yeah. So so they've lied to us about these vaccine strategies and all the things, and turns out Trump was right about it. But I think what's important is the attacks that have happened. Right? They've gone viciously after anybody that strays from the government's line, and I don't know, time after time after time, it's been proven to be not only false, but abjectly so, like knowingly lying about it, impugning people, and then calling. Do you guys remember being called murderers, literal mass murderers?
Yeah, because we didn't get back.
You're talking to the wrong guy. I had to go pick it at my school, so my kids at a private Christian school didn't have to wear masks. I had to call them out on their money and everything else. Like, I've seen it.
You know what was my favorite one? When they said Darwin. Do you remember that whole push?
Oh yeah,
Darwin's going to take, Darwin's theory is going to take us all out. And I'm sitting here going,
it turned out to be the other way around.
Right, exactly. Just like everything else the left does.
Yep.
Yeah. So, this whole moniker of conspiracy theory. I mean, we all know that it was invented as a term to basically label people getting too close to the truth as they're the problem. But what it's done is, if you look at it on the other side, people that buy into the propaganda from the government, they've been taught that whenever they hear the term conspiracy theory, or they can throw it out there, it automatically destroys any and all arguments to the alternative. Right? They don't have to have an adult conversation. See, you're just a crazy person, right? You're a conspiracy theorist, right? And so after time, just using the HCQ and ivermectin and all those things, they were all right? But the damage is already done. You're labeled as a heretic and a liar, and you're out to hurt people. And it's exactly opposite. It's mind-boggling, and I am not going to forget it. I can't believe we're going to sweep this under the rug.
I don't think it will. And that would be my next question for you guys before we move on this.
I have the same opinion towards the 2020 elections as I do the COVID. It needs to be exposed.
Yes. So, okay. So the conspiracy theorist / Trump / the rest of us were right about everything. Well, it didn't stop there, that we said ivermectin was a cure, that we said all of these other therapeutics and things would help fight this whole thing. What also was said was that Fauci was getting put in the spotlight for a reason, that Big Pharma was being spotlighted for a reason. So I guess that would be my next question, is kind of what you just hinted at right there, Pepe. Do we think that these people will be held accountable?
I don't think we'll rest until they all are, whether it be 10 years of primary and towards MAGA people. Like, for instance, today, every one of those that vote for that bullcrap funding bill, whatever, in Congress need to be primaried, right? Every single one, no matter how long it takes. So the question is, how long is it going to take to get it done is the real question, because I don't think there's any turning back.
What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think they've played, that, what's the damn game they have with the ball and the 3-card Monty, but with, anyway, 3-card Monty works. But they've been moving around and kicking the can down so often that they have to do these continuing resolutions. And yeah, they're so caught up in it that even if they're not directly responsible, they're part of the Washington machine. Mm-hmm. And that machine is so corrupt and has gone back for so long. I mean, I don't even know, how they can fix it. There's no way to catch the debt. I don't know if you guys know this, but I mean, we have more than 38 trillion in debt. We're back at 100 trillion in debt because they keep unfunded liabilities off the books. I'll give you an example how that works. So California and Gavin Newsom, that son of a bitch, they're always talking about they have the 8th biggest economy in the world and they have all this money. And it turns out, CalPERS is their state employee union retirement account, right? Biggest retirement account in the world. All this money invested, they keep that off. All the money they owe that they borrowed against, that they owe all the state employees isn't there. They have $1 trillion. $1 trillion, one state, in unfunded liabilities. And they keep that off the books because that's not their debt. They just call it unfunded liabilities. So the government lies to us. And these are the same people that give you a credit score, right? The same people that tell you
that's why you need to pay your taxes.
Yeah. They're 100 trillion in debt. But see, the problem is that you missed a payment, and we're going to have to ding your credit score. It's insanity.
So I hate to make this point and then move on to something, but Dr. C is going to show up here shortly. I'm going to make this point, and I want to show Coffee and Mike Lindell quick before he shows up, so we don't waste the time we have with him.
Yeah.
But can you guys understand where somebody that thinks along the lines that I do looks at the COVID thing and them using it to steal the election as where there's the possibility, almost like a Mike Pence, like it played its role in what we had to go through? Like, do you think that the White Hats are just that creative that they were able, or do you think?
Well, you think a little differently on who's all total in control versus a war versus, right? It's still going on kind of deal. So I don't believe exactly the same way there. I believe that fentanyl is worse than COVID, and I believe it's worse than the vaccines. And I believe it was just as on purpose.
Yeah, I don't doubt that you're right. Anything's possible at this point. Do you see what I'm saying, AO, with that?
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about who's responsible, yeah, I mean, I don't. It's all. I think China. It's all kind of confusing.
China.
It all, yeah,
Deep
China.
State. Deep State and China are on the same team. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and Ukraine. I mean, we found out that they have biolabs there. Remember, we didn't have any biolabs, and then we have a few biolabs, but they don't do anything. Okay, no, we have biolabs, and they actually work on.
What's more importantly is the biolabs in Wuhan created something targeted towards Black people. The biolabs in Ukraine targeted Russian DNA. What else did they have? Like made for the future, targeting who? I mean, right now
I'm still trying to figure out what is gain of function exactly. Like, what is the purpose of gain of function? To make viruses more deadly. Gain of
function keeps me from cruises and airplanes, because I don't want to be in the same vicinity as a bunch of vaxxed up people where I can't get away and they're shedding on me. And that's how I feel about gain of function.
All right.
Remember, the thing is, it didn't exist, right? That was the stuff of conspiracy theorists. Are you guys noticing a pattern here? There was no such thing as gain of function. And then it exists. Oh, and Fauci actually paid for it at the NIH.
I couldn't imagine being single right now. I'd be like, "Are you vaccinated?"
I have a quick question.
I asked that question.
If you're vaccinated, we can't go out. That's no lie.
That's not a joke. You're not kidding.
Yeah, I mean, if I were single, that's a requirement.
I don't know what it was. It's going on 2 years ago when I went back into the dating pool, and I ended up on a couple of apps, and I ended up, getting set up.
You ended up there? How did that happen?
Bro? I'm telling you though, that was not just a question I asked. It wasn't just a question I asked. The girls were asking it as well. It was legitimately a talking point when it came to whether or not we're going to have a second date, or if we're even going to get close to each other from the other side of the table. That was a real concern when I went. It was shortly. It was kind of like while that was all going on, and I put it out there on my profile. I put it out there as a question. It was a real fear at that point in time. So. Mm-hmm. I'll tell you what, let me take just a second before Dr. Craig shows up, because you guys, the two of you, Pepe and AO, are both on here with me. So I first and foremost want to show Covfefe.coffee, Pepe Deluxe being one of the founders along with 8-Track. So grateful for it. So here is Covfefe.coffee. I've already dropped the link over on Twitter. And if you are watching on Twitter, there's 1,000 people over there. If you guys don't know that there's a Rumble channel called Rambo and Frens, I would highly be grateful if you went over and supported that just by hitting the positive affirmation button. Hit that thumbs up. It means the world to me. That's probably the most important thing to me in this show, is getting the word out so we can put a platform for guys like these amazing people that have come on with me today. But here is Covfefe.coffee. My link, yet again, when I'm done here, I will put in the chat it is on the Twitter, and I'll put it here on Rumble again so that you can support specifically this show. But if you go on here, you can also support any of these amazing patriots and add-ons. There's Awaken Outlaws. There's Pepe Deluxe's. And here's mine personally. Beer at the Parade. There's Enoch, Brainstorm, Defender of the Republic, right on down the line. So I'm really excited about this project that we're all working on together. I think it's a really great way to not have to just donate your money to something you believe in. You can actually purchase and get a product from people that you believe in. This has exactly zero to do with Vanguard and BlackRock. This has everything to do with guys that are out here working their tails off for this movement. And it's a way that we can be capitalist by nature the way that we are. So, please go to the website. Please use my link to support the show. And please support anybody on here that you try them all. I highly suggest you try them all and find your favorite one and let me know. And I will today, yet again, be giving away one bag of anything you want. So at the end of the show, whoever's left here hanging out with me, we're going to pick somebody from the chat, and I'm going to give away another bag. The one that I sent 2 bags to Pepe of Kekistan, I believe his handle is. So he got one from me and Beer at the Parade because somebody else that won that day didn't want it. So it does come with having to give me in a DM
I can give you an address to send free coffee to if people want to buy it and don't want to drink it. Glad to do that.
Well, what happened last time was I think, and this is me kind of speaking for them, but 1 or 2 people won and they didn't necessarily want to give an address out to send it to. So please, at the end, when I ask you to put your information in there, know that you could be picked, and I'm going to send it to you. And it'll be in private message.
And it doesn't matter what flavor they pick or what influencer they pick on your link. It just still helps you, brother.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you use my link, it helps me. But if you purchase anybody's coffee, it also helps them.
It also helps them. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Please feel free to support. I hope you buy one of everybody's. Try them all and then stick with your favorite one. And yeah, our link will be the one out there that you can purchase by watching.
I've learned more about coffee than I ever care to know, to be honest with you. Like, there's a lot to know about coffee, how it's done, how the beans are dried, being able to ship them after they're ground if you don't have a grinder, like the day of or the day after. There's a lot to learn, and I've enjoyed the journey. I really appreciate the technology that 8-track brings to the table, because most all the drippers that are out there, every dripper out there uses Shopify and Stripe besides us. And now, because of the influencers involved, we're able to go to a wholesale level where we could build for anybody. Like we could build anybody's coffee. Now I'm talking to a big tire deal wholesaler because they want their own coffee beans. And I would have never knew how to do all that, with merch if it weren't for the war we were in. It's really cool.
I didn't want to tell you, but I'm at work trying to figure out how to get them to switch to Pepe their coffee.
Well, if give me the name. Do you have somebody that is a decision maker for that?
They're a nationwide company. I'm working. I'm trying. Give me
Okay, let me ask that again. Do you have anybody that's a decision maker for that? That's who I need to talk to, whether it be regional, national, local. You treat them all the same, brother. If you know a decision maker, I need to be calling.
It's an uphill battle. This is the same company that I sent you a picture.
They can't eat me. Just give me the name and number, bro.
The TV screen is the same one that wanted to celebrate Inclusivity Day, and they're the ones that tried.
I'm going to inclusive our coffees.
All right, hold on. Let's keep going. So here's Mike. Little Mike was really cool. Turned right around and supported this show right away. So promo code Rambo if you want anything Mike Lindell, MyPillow. This dude is an absolute beast. He supported us when I was part of Brainstorm. I hope that y'all still support Brainstorm, but I also hope that you use Mike Lindell to support this show and support him. I have a sneaking feeling Mike Lindell is part of this process, and he is going to be he didn't
a hero is what President Trump said.
Yes. Yep. I had a dream. I had a dream that Mike Go ahead.
I was going to say Martin Luther King had a dream.
Or go. I had a dream that Mike Lindell was the one that was secretly appointed president. I had a dream. I'm not even kidding. Like, I had a dream that he was the one that was actually president. Wow, here he's back. All right.
You don't think that's the same dream?
I really truly did. I swear I woke up one morning, I almost wrote a thread about it. I was believed myself so much. I used to wake up in the morning dreaming about where I would get my next $10 so that I wouldn't feel sick because of the drug addiction I was going through decades ago. And now I wake up in the morning like with threads bouncing in my head, trying to figure out how to present it to everybody. Is that crazy?
Well, you do a great job of that. I'd just like to say, because I love the threads you come up with and the videos that there's some of the videos. I'm like, where the flip did he get that video from? Oh my God. Yeah. I never saw that one, or just anything that's driving people to see what's really going on. People love to see little short clips, and you're a master at that. I love it.
Well, I got a few of them for this morning. I was kind of hoping that DrC would show up, but they're great conversation starters, I've found, right? So people love them, and I think that they draw people's attention, and then to be able to play them in front of guys like you three and DrC who's showing up, it kind of means the world to me. Did you guys see what the Army posted about the Ghost Army the other day?
I did. Yeah. Both videos.
So I'm going to start with that one.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with that one, and I'm going to show something that hit the mainstream last night. So here's the video that literally was posted on sue me, I don't remember exactly which Army's Twitter page it was, but this is that clip. So check this out.
In the annals of World War II, there was an Army Tactical Deception Unit, a clandestine force whose actions spoke louder than their silence. They were known as the Ghost Army. On March 21st, the United States Congress will award the Congressional Gold Medal to the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops and the 3133rd Service Company to recognize the extraordinary service of these unsung heroes. While serving in Europe during World War II, the units engaged in deceptive activities that were pivotal to Allied victory and significantly reduced casualties. Ghost Army soldiers, recruited from art schools, advertising agencies, and technical professions, brought a unique blend of creativity and technical mastery to the battlefield. They utilized inflatable tanks, soundtracks, and false radio transmissions to create elaborate illusions of sizable American forces, confounding the enemy and safeguarding Allied troops. For over 50 years, their activities remained classified, receiving minimal recognition. Today, the United States expresses eternal gratitude to the Ghost Army, whose innovative tactics saved lives and helped defeat the Axis powers. May their legacy endure, reminding us that heroes, whether seen or unseen, shape the course of history.
Fort Bragg.
Awesome.
Nobody cares about no Fort Freedom.
I think what's one of my takeaways there is it mentioned seen or unseen. And so, when we all have battle picture in our head, especially World War I or II, World War I when they're doing trench warfare, for God's sakes. But we have this idea that, that's what we see. What we don't see are all the things that go into psychological aspect. I mean, we know about in Vietnam when you have, Hanoi Jane and other people, you have people that are broadcasting and, but this goes back to actually influencing how people think and feel. And I want to address that real quick because there seems to be this misnomer that, all PSYOP is psychological operation. It's just battle of narratives, right? We're in a battle of narratives against the deep state.
That's what Q is. It's a psychological operation.
Right. There's the idea that a psychological operation is a bad thing. I mean, that's elementary school or kindergarten level thinking because it works both ways. I mean, a commercial is a psychological operation, right? They're trying to convince you to drink Bud Light, not Coors Light or anything else. I mean, just the idea that you're pushing being, psychological, trying to influence how you feel. And so there are good psychological operations. It's not bad. We've been living in a sea of psychological operations that have been run against us our entire lives, right? We've been told false narratives. And so it's just the general idea that any PSYOP is bad. It's like, well, that's freaking retarded because if you're also somebody that followed Q, you'll know that was a positive PSYOP meant to wake people up.
Did you ever see Leon Larger? What's his name now? I love him so much. Aussie, you were talking about that. Like the PSYOP we've been subjected to is like Russian nesting dolls. Where does our awakening end? If you know what those are, like they uncover and there's another one, and uncover and there's another one, and uncover and there's another one, all the way till when?
But the awakening is like, it seems as though the awakening is continual.
Well, and I believe it will be. Like
you said, 10 years, maybe more. Like, in other words,
we were talking about something else. Though. Yeah. We were talking about
all of it, but it's all tied together in the sense that spiritually and politically, there's an unfolding, and only the people who are ready for the information to the depth that they're ready for is going to actually happen. And there's layers.
And it would take 10 years to.
There's like multiple audiences that we're speaking to. Or that Q is speaking to that
according to what level they're on.
Yeah. It just
think about how many people have been successfully brainwashed over their whole lives. You have to reprogram people. And I don't mean that just our school system, for example. Everyone that's been brought up has been slowly, that needle's been turned intentionally. I mean, it's not unintentional that school systems churn out Marxists, right? That purple hair and spout transgender, that's intentional. And so maybe not to the degree that, but our lives as well. And so not only do we have to fix things moving forward, education, healthcare, every sinking thing you can imagine has been infected. So we have to fix things and retroactively kind of educate people. I think it's going to take decades. I don't think, and by that I don't mean closure as far as like some kind of revelation.
You mean
that
to
this
get
is
it
happening
in the right path? It's going to take decades.
Yeah,
I agree. That's what we were talking about. Like the information that we have, we're 5 to 7 years ahead of the normies. So how long is it going to take to implement everything that we've learned and seen before it becomes mainstream? And it's really going to be according to, honestly, to how long does it take the normie news to catch up to reporting on truth, which will help a lot. Like, I know that we're promised what I call a flood of information. We're still on the drip.
So
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we're on the drip, and the only reason that it's unfortunate to us is because we've been ready for the tsunami since 2017. No offense, and the end of 18, especially December 5th. But if we didn't feel that way the whole time, no ammunition would have been expended for the normies to see live and for the awakening process to happen.
Well, this is why local action equals national impact is so important. Like, look, what you were just saying, AO, I'm dealing with right now, currently, with the oldest child that's in this house, actually just turned into an adult. She just turned 18 years old, and she came in the other day and was talking about the fact that they were trying to teach about gender. And we're basically attempting to indoctrinate her with that whole, genders. There could be an infinite amount of ways that you identify yourself. Of course, me and her mom are staring at each other like I'm like ready to go to school board meetings and fight everybody type of deal.
Right.
It's like, why?
Which of course then makes you a terrorist, right? I mean, how dare you want to have a say in how your children are raised? You must be a terrorist, a domestic terrorist. It's insane. I mean, the fact that anybody believes that, it blows my mind.
Can I even make it personal for a second? I hate to do this, but they've given me full permission to talk about this stuff. That young lady that I'm talking about, the reason that I was so gravitated toward this family, because I don't know typically too many men that would just sign up and be like, yeah, I want to take care of 4 kids that aren't my own. But it was kind of like the perfect storm with us, right? So I can just make it personal for a second. When I met this young lady, same girl I'm talking about, where we talked about, are you vaccinated or are you vaccinated? And both of us weren't. There's also a school teacher, which threw a red flag for me because I'm thinking she's part of the indoctrination process. And then I find out, first of all, she's not. She's certainly not as deep in everything as I am, but she has very conservative values. And I think that she's an asset to the teaching here, especially in Pennsylvania. But when I found out that there was 4 children and no father figure, and that was because he raped and molested that oldest daughter for the ages of, I think it was 14 to, or was it 12 to 16.
Right.
And so the reason that this young lady was running a household alone with 4 children was because that man was in jail. And it grabbed me by the heartstrings, and I felt the need to want to protect this family. Maybe it's who I am and where I came from. I lost my family. So to see people that went through everything that it is that I fight for, I couldn't wait to be a part of helping mold the minds and protect and do all the fatherly figure stuff that it is. So when I see someone with that background, who I'm very aware of what she went through, I pray on it daily and I look for guidance on it daily. And for them to see the indoctrination process try to be perpetrated on that young lady, I get very defensive, right? So I legitimately want to go to school board meetings and fight everyone because they've been through enough. Why are we continuing this process? It's personal now. Like it sucked, and all the mama bears should stand up and fight for their kids. We shouldn't be putting them through this indoctrination process. Thank God for the Great Awakening. We should all be talking about and fighting against it. So,
well, our kids can't do math, but they want to talk about pronouns. I mean, the insanity, 2 + 2 = 5, but men can have periods and have babies. It's like, why are they even talking about this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me bring it back full circle for both of you. So we started with the Army talking about the Ghost Army, which obviously draws parallels to this movement. Now, where I drew a parallel just prior to the Army putting that post out, and I want to see what you guys think about this. We all know who the general was that was in charge of that ghost army in World War II, right?
Yeah.
General Patton. So
Yep.
if General Patton was in charge of that, I instantly think, why did Donald Trump highlight and spotlight General Patton so many times? I mean, so many rallies. And I'm going to show one example here quick. So check this out.
By the way, you know, we have great generals on television, guys. These guys are major losers. But do you think that General George Patton would have left early out of Afghanistan? Do you think he would have left dead soldiers for no reason whatsoever? And do you think he would have left $85 billion worth of the best equipment anywhere in the world? And you know, Russia and China, they already have samples of our great helicopters. We have the Apache helicopter. We have the best stuff in the world. And they are now re-engineering the equipment. They're de-engineering. They're taking it apart. They're figuring it out. And very soon they'll be building the best stuff for less money. It's a disgrace. What's happened is a disgrace. Think of it. 600,000 of the best machine guns, rifles, and guns made anywhere in the world. And I read the other day, there's tremendous numbers of our equipment right now being sold on the black market. Isn't that nice? No, General George Patton, you know, I saw that movie years ago, and a little while ago we were at a rally, and it was a great rally, and I said, you know, could you guys ever find that opening to George Patton? Right? That was what a great thing that was. And George C. Scott. George C. Scott. I don't know. Did he win the Academy Award? Did the movie? I think so. Something like that. They did pretty well, right? But but that was him. In fact, they actually said that wasn't nearly as tough as the real Patton. That was a softer version of the real Patton. But we need that. You know, we did great. We knocked out 100% of the ISIS caliphate. We had great generals. We had a general named Kane. I went to Iraq. I don't want to embarrass him because he's not a television general. I'll end up ruining him. He'll probably come out with a bad statement about me because he was told to. But we had a general. I flew in and I landed at night. Every window was dark because they thought it would be. This is on Air Force One. I said, isn't that terrible? The lights were all off. They pulled down the shades. The plane was entirely black. They couldn't see it. And I said, isn't that incredible? We've spent trillions of dollars in the Middle East and we can't even land Air Force One with the lights on, right?
Now hold on. Before you guys comment, I got one more thing to show here. So he just talked about General Patton. He talked about General Patton, who was the leader, the general of the Ghost Army. He talked about inflatable tanks. And if everybody remembers, look, this isn't provable, but it shows. You guys remember this?
Oh yeah, the inflatable plane.
My question is, because people are skeptical of this being an inflatable plane, how the hell are all of these people from Afghanistan running directly under, in front of, and behind a jet engine, laughing and smiling and waving to the camera? We all just saw, I mean, you look at that windshield, there's something just not right about that.
It's an inflatable. Yeah, you can look up. That's not glass you see around the pilot's area.
Yeah, hold on, Pepe. I deleted you.
Window, yeah.
What's that? I deleted you. I just deleted you.
It just tickles me to see it, that's not real.
There's no way that's real.
Well, and when we first saw it,
Can't even keep a straight face and look at that window. Come on.
Well, so when you first see it, your mind tells you it's real, and so that's the same kind of thing that our adversaries had in the past when they saw the inflatable tanks and stuff, because they're affecting their perception of what's actually going on. And I think this is just indicative of, you can find one example of this, but for every one example, there's going to be any number of them that affected you that you just weren't even aware of, and being done, for reasons that are beyond us. But I think one thing that I'd like to point out real quick here is when you hear Trump talking about people, he's talking about Patton and other generals and other people that, I've heard this thing bantered around to where people want to decide for others what Trump means when he talks, right? They want to talk about.
Thank you for
he's
saying
highlighting
that. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, because they say want to highlight somebody, and so he's highlighting them because that person's bad, right? It's like
Or good.
That's obviously not true. I mean, sometimes he does, yes, but the thing is he's a master tactician. So anyone telling you that they alone get to interpret what Trump means, and when he says things, he actually means the opposite. But that's not what Trump is saying.
Let me ask a deeper question.
Mm-hmm.
If you met Trump, would you have any red pills for him, AO?
No, I mean, he I'm sure more than any question, he has a lot more information than I do as the president.
That's where I disagree. I think that Trump yearns to serve the people. You know what I mean? Like, you remember when Q said that they were only going to show us 60%, and because we raised hell, they said 80?
Yeah.
I think we forget we're the ones in charge. Well, let me ask it a different way. Let me ask this. If I ever met Q, do you think I'd have any red pills for them on the topic of theology?
Probably yes. And by the way,
yes, you damn right I would, and I would for Trump as well. And everybody thinks for their darn self, and it matters what we think more than them. More than them. And they supposed to represent the people, and we love Trump because he represents us more than any flipping person, any OG, anybody on earth. Like, he's taken a lot of slings and arrows for us. If it weren't for him, they'd be going after you and me, right now.
Right. Well, because the done is, if you think about it, when Trump actually applauds people, like in this case, Patton, right? Oh, obviously Patton's a bad guy because Trump was highlighting him. It's like, well, Trump wasn't. Maybe he's highlighting him because he also likes him. I mean, that's a debatable, right? But to definitively try and tell me that whatever Trump is saying is opposite of what he's saying, and you alone get to interpret Trump and if you don't agree with him, then you're the problem, right? Then you're actually, quote unquote, an operator or something. It's so ridiculous.
You fight those shills harder than I ever would. I don't even. As soon as I identify them, I'm separated from them. You're better than that as far as how you approach them and how you talk to them. But I just ignore them. I don't even try to comprehend why they think the way they do, because shills are shills. Like people who are going to go against everything. Well, look at it like this. I'm a Bible guy. Even when the people that mumbled against Moses saw when Moses died, they all cried for 30 days, even the people that mumbled, because they knew that was God's man. That was God's man. And that's how I see Trump in the day that we live in. That's God's man. That's our King Jehu. That's our King David. That's our Cyrus. That's our Nebuchadnezzar. You can name a bunch of others. And in our country, that's how we see this, is a biblical movement, and God has his hand on Trump. And as long as God has his hand on Trump, it don't flipping matter what anybody says.
Right. Plus we all get to, we all have the ability to make up our own minds. And I think that when I say at the end of the day, I mean, we all have to come to our own conclusions, right? Everyone has the ability to come to their own conclusions based on what they see. And if it turns out that it disagrees with other people, so be it. It's okay to agree to disagree, right? There's nothing wrong with having a disagreement. Impugning others for daring to disagree is something else entirely, right? Dragging other people because they don't agree with you is unacceptable in my mind.
It's amazing how the liberals have such unity over the most demonic things just to win. And you watch us like, we just separate over everything, and we will sabotage everything over it, it seems like. And when I say we, I mean conservatives. I'm a conservative, but I'm a liberal in some ways. But we all think for ourselves, and it's like herding cats if you're really trying to get everybody to move the same way and do the same thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I still trust us more than those that would have unity with everything they disagree with. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but
Well, if you think about it, you have to have principles, right? So if you have principles, then the ends don't always justify the means. And for people on the far left, the ends always justify the means. So
That's
it's
right.
easier for them to go in as a block and stay united, because even if they don't agree with it, they agree where they want to end up. Conservatives have not all of them, but many of us have principles, and that gets in the way because the process itself can't be
well, like I don't want I don't want a ballot harvest. I think that demeans us totally. I don't want to cheat and out cheat them. I do want to win, and I do want to fix our election system and border, etc. But I don't want to do it and I don't want to do it by cheating and out cheating them. That makes us no better.
Can I say that I take something huge from both of you when it comes to Pepe, you just called them shills. So you two, like I said, are both leaders to me. You're both I look up to the way you handle yourselves both, and you're definitely both not the same when it comes to those things. Like Pepe, you're very quick to block and move on, and I understand it. I think that what you do is true to yourself, and I
want to create an atmosphere, you know what I mean, for my people, especially in my Telegram, where there's a lot of hurting people that are trying to stand up in their areas, and the last thing they don't want to hear is a bunch of dang whining in the comments all the time. Nothing's ever happening.
I don't think that you're wrong in the way that you handle yourself. I think that you are you for doing that, and I think AO at the same time is probably the most brilliant there is as far as intellectually snapping back in a way that can be understood. And I kind of find myself in the middle because you're both so influential to me. Whereas
I got angry at AO. We were in We the Media, and he unblocked all the flipping shills that I worked so hard to block. But does that make me love him any less? No. It took me probably a year and a half, however long We the Media is old, that IET started. I see he's here with us finally. I'm glad you finally got done cracking some backs.
Hold on, Pepe.
I hated that we unblocked a bunch of shields that I worked very hard to block, because I think there's a certain atmosphere of people that are let me get this out. There's people that are against us in such a way all they want to do is sow discord. I don't want to have nothing to do with them, and we're never going to win a fool.
I think you're right, Pepe. I am
always right.
I don't think that what I'm about to say combats what your point is. I think your point's great. I have found personally that standing somewhere in the middle of the outlook that both of you have has worked tremendously for me. So it's been a way that I've been able to be true to myself, because a lot of times conversations in my comments will start in a very abrasive way, right? People call me crazy. They attack me, blah, blah, blah. And if I just love them to death, look, as long as they're not some sort of, and I don't mean to call anything out, but you guys know.
I don't block everybody who disagrees or fusses or argues or none of that. None of that. Never. Like, I've got people that I love, and they're my favorite dissenters. Like, I don't want to get rid of the people that hold me accountable. It's just the ones that I recognize that are just trying to sow discord.
But I've noticed if you love them through a shitty conversation, you can end up finding common ground, at least on a level where you can have positive discourse. And
but if you have that same attitude towards the piece of shills, then you'll go through the anxiety that Outlaws had to learn the hard way.
Well, we've all learned things through this process. Let's. I don't want to wait anymore. Dr. Craig has been, I don't even know the adjective to use, bro. I'm so grateful that you're here. I've now gotten to hang out with two of my. No, I don't, and I'm not going to put you on a pedestal. I've said that before you were here, just so you're aware. I don't believe that anybody in this movement is above another. However, at the same time, I'm human, and I saw what you did on social media. I saw what you were a part of founding. I saw everything that you did as somebody that was at that point in time really just consuming all the hard work that you guys all did, and as what I call myself, which would be a second generation Anon. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the groundwork that people like you laid. So you're right, none above another. However, I'm gonna fanboy for just a second. You know what I mean?
All right, sounds good. How you guys doing?
Good. So what we were talking about here, Dr. C, and I want to play one more clip before we start getting into asking you some questions, because it kind of caps off what we were showing here before, is that the the Army put out a post the other day about the Ghost Army and appreciating them. Nobody ever given them credit. And then I played a clip of Donald Trump talking about General Patton, who most of us are aware of was the general that was in charge of that Ghost Army, World War II, and storming of Normandy, and really taking down Hitler and the Germans to at least through messaging finish World War II, right? So we can get into that debate, but I don't think that's the point right now. What I saw this morning as I woke up late and was in panic mode trying to get this show together was that something now, I wrote a thread about General Patton and his Ghost Army, and I paralleled it with Donald Trump spotlighting and highlighting General Patton. And you guys don't have to agree. I would love for you not to, and give me your opinions. But I think that Donald Trump spotlighted General Patton in the Ghost Army because I think that we're going through something similar today. Just before you got on, I showed the planes in Afghanistan that many people don't believe to be real. And this clip on the actual mainstream media, which feels like soft disclosure to me, kind of wrapped up that whole discussion we were having when you showed up. So let's do this quick and then we'll move on. Check this out.
World War II, America Strong. Tonight, the new honor for a mission so secret, many who knew about it, who were part of it, took it to the grave. World War II, 1,300 U.S. soldiers, part of the so-called Ghost Army. Top secret military units deployed to fool the Nazis, using inflatable rubber trucks, inflatable tanks and artillery, even inflatable soldiers, meant to look real from the air and from a distance, even blaring sound effects of tanks heard miles away. The strategy, deceiving enemy forces, freeing up real units to strike unexpectedly, saving an estimated 15,000 to 30,000 lives, helping to defeat the Nazis. The mission remained top secret for 50 years, declassified in 1996. And tonight, nearly 80 years later, the Ghost Army now recognized with the Congressional Gold Medal. 3 of those veterans right there today. Private Seymour Newsom, then and now. Private John, then and today. And Private Bernie Bluestein, then and now. Today, honoring his fellow soldiers.
A lot of hard work with a lot of hardworking people. And I'm very proud and happy to be here to receive this honor. Thank you.
We salute them too.
I think that anybody's fooling themselves that when something like this hits the mainstream media, that it isn't for a reason at this point in the process. Dr. IET, do you want to, I know you didn't see the whole thing, but do you want to say something on that?
Well, I just find it interesting that they chose to come out and reveal themselves at this point, indicating kind of that there's no longer a perceived threat about releasing that information, or it seems very timely in that sense.
100. Ayo, you want to go around the horn on this one before we move on?
Yeah, it's incredibly important. I mean, this was a vital cog in the illusion that was necessary to pull D-Day off, right? And so what we're talking about is psychological operations and the fact that they exist, and just now that it's being recognized with the Congressional Medal of Honor for the group, I think is significant. But yes, absolutely, the timing wise, as Craig said, is interesting because of the impact of what we believe is going on right now. Also involves some of the same forces from the 4th and the 8th psychological units in the Army. But yes, I think it's the timing is important, and I think it's being recognized for a reason.
Pepe D.
If we were in full control, then Fort Bragg would still be Fort Bragg. If it weren't just a back and forth war between us and the deep state. So my view is we still have those type of operations going on today for the narrative
Sure.
and the control.
Well, if I could throw something in there, I mean, that's one of the debates that we can have, because is that what it appears to be, right? So I look at things like where they change the name of like Fort Bragg in this example. I think most people it pisses off, right? And the fact that it pisses
me off. I'm a North Carolina boy, and it ticks me off. It really does.
Right. But that might be the point, right? That's the area where psychological operations play, is not the stuff that we react to, but our reaction to it.
Touche, and congratulations.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think that all this is kind of designed to grab you by your emotions, to motivate you, right? We've all had the debate on whether or not the Bolshevik Revolution, Operation Trust is the same as Q. And if you look into it, it's exactly the opposite operation. And I can't help but correlate that when I see things like this hitting the mainstream media. This is soft disclosure, in my opinion. And the things that we're seeing and we debate about are legitimately messaging points to wake up, motivate, and local action, national impact, fifth generation warfare, all the taglines that we know and love at this point. But I'll tell you what, I want to transition though, because Dr. Craig is here. So I apologize for going a little further on that than I wanted to. Dr. Craig, I wasn't sure when you'd show up, but
no, man, it's been a wild morning.
Well, I'm grateful that you're here, dude. So I want to start it with this. First of all, how much time do you have? Because I know you're at work.
I have probably, let's see, you're in Eastern time, right?
I am, yeah.
So I have until about 2:55-ish, and I got to get back inside.
Sounds great. All right. So with having you here, I think I touched on the fact that through this great awakening process, the numbers within our movement grow every day. I don't think that that's even debatable at this point. I think that's why I've been blessed with the platform I've been blessed with on X. So with that being said, I think that a whole lot of people missed a whole lot of really imperative things. One of the major things I cling on to is a hindsight is 2020 type of message. So with what we know now, all of the hard work that people like the three of you did before us becomes a lot more clear. And as another Anon told me last night when I was discussing what to ask you about, they said that the way that you decoded was almost magical. So what I want to ask you, as I know you've built accounts with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people that were paying attention, I would love for you to maybe pick one or two stories. I'll give an example before I set you free. I saw a screenshot of a private Twitter messaging group. Now, this is well back, and I'm not going to say anything personal, so I don't think that it's a bad idea to bring this up. But General Flynn popped into that message, and the first response that I saw was you saying "Holy F," right? And I got so excited here just seeing that screenshot. Like, it meant the world to me. Is there any stories like that one specifically, or others that you could share with everybody?
I mean, that one is probably the most memorable one for sure. Just, I think we were all sitting there. It was about to be 4/10/20, and we all thought, oh, here we go. It's going to be, April 10th, 2020. Things are going down. COVID just came out, and we're all thinking that COVID positives are indictments, and General Flynn hops in. I think it was on that day, to be honest.
It was Friday. It was Good Friday, the day after what you pagans call Easter.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to my calendar and see if I can't figure out exactly what day.
I know exactly. It was on a Friday.
Yeah, so it was 4/10/20. And we all thought it was going down. We had the whole movement going, it's going down. And then Q literally comes out later after General Flynn hops in and says, y'all need to chill on the dates, right? Like we kept on pushing a date. And I think that was kind of, we were used in a way to get the deep state to flinch. In a sense, so that they would use their ammunition to the
I can
distract
tell you
us.
what I was going through at that exact time was I was praying for God to show me a sign that I'm supposed to be in the war. I actually knew Q was real based on the drops and the back and forth and the proofs, but I didn't know that God wanted me to be in the war. Like I didn't care about any of that. All I cared about was, okay, God, this is real, but is that what you want me doing?
Right.
And I said, I need a real sign. And for me at the time, General Flynn was a real cornerstone of the whole thing. And when he come in our chat for the very first time after I asked for that and told us Happy Easter, blah, 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 like basically putting his stamp of approval on what we've been doing in our private chat. Well, that was my sign.
So
That
he
was
was
my
in there.
sign. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I'm ready to go, Lord. I don't need anything else.
We
The end.
added him in there because he was following some of us. So if you're following one another, then you can add people into private messages. But he had never said
But
a
he didn't
word.
talk for a year and some until after I prayed.
Yeah, and he definitely came in and said hello, and
Oh, he said hello.
I don't remember exactly what he said. I had to look at the screenshot, but I remember thinking in my
Post
head,
it.
I don't have it. Do you have it? It's deep
Joe, you
within
got
my.
it?
I do. Yeah.
Joe's sitting there like,
Okay.
post it.
I have it. I have everything. I archived everything you guys ever did.
Post it.
I want to.
It was basically Happy Easter. It wasn't much. It was just, it meant a lot to me at the time because he knew what we were doing. He's no dummy. I mean, Flip, that's the biggest spook of all time. And he's not going to encourage us at that exact time in what we're doing if we're not on the right track, kind of deal is how I took it. Now, you have to realize I was looking for a sign for God, but I also was the total opposite of 99% of most Anons thinking that General Flynn was part of the Q movement. I was the one that thought he was absolutely not part of the Q movement. I was the only one. I was the only one in all of WIDA media and all of the groups that said he was not. And I still say the same. But it was still in.
Can I clarify though? Because in your messaging with what's going on online right now and attacking General Flynn, I don't think from talking to you, tell me if I'm wrong. I don't think because you think that that General Flynn's a bad guy. You don't think?
No, not at all. The total opposite. I think that he's fighting just as all of us are for the same type of things. I just think we're a few steps ahead of him.
Well, let me say this.
No offense. I always thought we were a few steps ahead of him. I just needed acknowledgement from the Lord that at the time that we were on the right track, and his spark coming in there outside of the Q movement was my sign. Like a general like him knows we're all on the right track, even though he's not one of us, kind of deal.
I love you, Pepe. Let me say something.
Now I'm not like most. Like most people don't agree with me on that. That's cool. That's all right.
I love you. Yeah, I'm okay with that. I just want to make it clear for anybody that isn't aware of what Dr. Craig was talking about. 41020 is in the drops, and I'm going to try to make this so I can still upload it to YouTube. But that's Donald J. Trump. That's DJT. That's his initials, and he was referenced that way, and it was something people had to pick up on early on. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that date was significant to these guys while that was happening for that reason, because those numbers 4-10-20 were put out in that messaging board as his initials, and it was something that you all had to pick up on together. Now, AO, I want you to jump in this one too, but I'm gonna lead with the question to Dr. C. I saw a post you made once you came back here this most recent time to X, where you talked about no one, I'm paraphrasing, but no one will ever convince you that it wasn't real, that in real time it wasn't something that could be proven to you to be false because you experienced it. Can you touch on that, Dr. C?
Well, so I was on 4chan the night the person we now know as Q showed up, and for a couple of days, I mean, we were 24/7 around the clock trying to figure out if it was just another guy LARPing or not, and LARPing being live action role playing. But we, through statistical analysis and just all the coincidences, inevitably discerned that this was legitimate. But he first posted, I don't know, Q, that Hillary was going to be arrested, right? That was drop one. And then all of these posts that came afterwards were connecting all of these, what we thought at the time were separate conspiracy theories that everyone was just kind of researching. And he put them all together as it was just one entity that was doing all of this. And so it kind of seemed too good to be true. At the time, we also had FBI Anon coming on and posting and saying, hey, here's some heads up about some things that are about to happen. And so I think people were suspicious, and rightfully so, as we should have been. But after, I mean, it wasn't just a couple of days where we were like, okay, this is legit. And even as it progressed more and more and more, I guess now, as Q would say, how many times does something have to be a coincidence before it becomes statistically impossible? And,
that's today's delta, by the way. That's one of today's deltas. But anyway, keep going.
The amount of zero delta drops, like between Q and Trump, in other words, where they posted at the same time, within the same minute, not necessarily about the same things, but in the same time. And then I think one day they did it 3 times in a row. 3 consecutive zero deltas. That's just another proof, right? That this is not just some guy online sitting behind in their mom's basement running a show like that. And
they're connected directly to Trump.
I mean, so many proofs that this was good. Even the tippy top one, right? We got Donald Trump to say tippy top. He was on stage with the Easter Bunny next to him, I think, when he said tippy top.
That was the day Mike Pompeo was to wear a lime green tie.
Right. And so we had so many things that were confirmed to us, just little ones, right? Not direct, like Trump coming out and saying Q is legit. I mean, because I'm pretty sure he's never said that.
And never will.
No, I don't think he will. But you add them up, right? I mean, how many statistical coincidences were there? And it had to have been in the hundreds, if not close to 1,000 coincidences where we were just, okay, fine. This is legit. And you see the reaction from the deep state too, right? Like, they keep flinching, even though they're saying, no, this isn't real. This isn't real. They were making these false flag events happen. And I'm not saying false flag in the sense that they weren't real events, but in the sense that they would create a distraction on purpose to divert the attention away from other things that could be potentially happening. And those were correlated with what we were as Anons decoding as date fagging, right? Like, we were like, oh, something's going to happen on this day. Something's going to happen on this day. And when those days would come up, all of a sudden the deep state would use some sort of ammunition to distract the public from what potentially could be a fallout. And then, of course, what we were hoping was going to happen was the military coming in and taking over and martial law and all this 10 days of darkness nonsense. It never came to fruition. And I'm not saying that it won't, but that.
Well, that's why I was going to ask why you called it nonsense. I didn't know
because it didn't happen when we thought it was going to, right? That's why
nothing
earlier
did.
I was thinking we got used almost to make the deep state flinch, because there were so many eyes on.
Well, you actually did. That's true, right? You did.
Yeah. I mean, Q posts 1787. All right. This is August 1st, 2018. And Q says worldwide, the amount of eyes on were 300 to 350 million. And then the amount of people who were tracking, so those that were, actively paying attention worldwide, were 52 to 58 million. And that was in 2018. So you were saying, like, how many have we gained since then daily? I mean, like, it's got to be huge. And so the deep state knew we were all watching. They knew that they had so many of us, like, trying to figure out and decipher these posts to figure out what's going to happen and when.
Probably why they don't allow us to all be back on Twitter. If you think that maybe Elon has anything to do with it, as far as the total picture.
We just got them to flinch, and so but they kind of played us in a sense, which over time I think wears on people, and they're like, oh, it's
This is why I tell you, I think you're right.
It damn wears on people for sure.
Well, I think you're right because a lot of that date fagging turned people away.
I hate date fagging. I date fagged December 5th, 2018, and I never did again.
Well, and you guys don't forget that some of this is because we just didn't understand the time frame. We didn't have access.
Well,
to
if we didn't believe it, exactly right, AO. If we didn't believe it, then there would be no ammunition spent. Like, if we didn't believe it was getting ready to happen, Deep State wouldn't either, and they wouldn't have reacted for people in front of the whole world.
Right, and let's not also forget that there are interests involved in creating disunity amongst us. One of the things that the Deep State would do, and they have done, is promoted dates themselves to get people to buy into dates, right? Especially newer people that then tell their friends and family. Yeah, then it doesn't happen, and then it's egg on their face. And so, that's encouraged from the other side. It's an actual tactic that we've seen deployed against us how many times now?
Bunch.
Let me say, we said quick. Let me show some quick. So we said that Trump never confirmed, but he came pretty damn close.
Most of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of files and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there.
Right, so it's neither confirmed nor denied type of stuff every time from Trump. So, like, people want to say that he's said things that indicate he's not, or people want to say that he said things indicating that he is. There's several posts that, when things start happening, that POTUS cannot come out and comment on these things in order to keep some sort of separation and plausible deniability of sorts, so that they can't then turn around and use it against them. Remember, when 8chan, because this is after 4chan, Q had to move from 4chan to 8chan whenever the amount of shills posting in a bread, and a bread would be a thread of posts, 150, or I think 350 at the time. They would flood it before we would even get a chance to have a conversation. And so we had to move. So 8chan then all of a sudden became underneath congressional investigation, right? And then they tried to use these things to go after Trump.
Was it 4chan first?
Yeah, it was 4chan first. And then it went to 8chan, and then it went to 8kun, because 8chan eventually got taken over too, and I think forced to shut down. And so
it was by Cloudflare, and it was really Nike caused that, by the way.
Well,
Nike bought Nike bought 150 million of Cloudflare. That's why that happened.
Trump does not want to get in trouble by directly associating himself with this, because the Deep State, that is, go after him directly and try to create a connection that they could prosecute him under. And we know that he's not doing anything wrong because he was the commander in chief. I mean, if he's in charge of the military, he can run a military op, and he doesn't need congressional approval for that, especially if those in Congress are treasonous and otherwise dereliction of their duty. But they were just giving them no further ammunition to make him look bad. So you got Trump coming out and neither confirming nor denying, and using things like, what you showed in that clip where he's like, well, is that supposed to be a good thing or a bad thing? It's not a bad thing that he's going after pedophiles, but they're so concerned about it. Their reaction, their fear, their anxiety and panic over what's supposed to be just a LARP. What is the saying? It's all this.
All for a LARP.
All for a LARP. Like, if it's such a nothing, why are you guys putting out, your entire mainstream media arsenal and all of your powers going after it and attacking folks that are in it? A bunch of anons and memes took on multi-billion and trillions of dollars worth of power trying to influence people, and we're beating their ass right now, and we still are.
won with scraps like Iron Man in the flipping cave.
Yeah, dude, like Iron Man in the freaking cave, dude. And they got these people have all
You
kinds
damn
of.
right. I'm right, bitches.
Well,
So-
okay. Well, hold on. I want to pull AO back in so we get
Yeah.
everybody some even time here. But this question goes for all three. I just want AO to answer first. And I didn't plan on doing this, but what you talked about made me want to ask. There was infiltration on the boards, right? For somebody that's looking back and learning from all you.
Yeah.
So how do you all feel about the newest set of drops that we got separately that some people question? I'd like to know.
They're fake.
All right.
Yeah.
So out of the way. Go ahead, AO.
Well, the question is the trip codes and if they were compromised, and I'm on the fence. I don't think they're real. If I turn out to be wrong about that, so be it. There's a lot of things that I haven't been right about.
Only reason he's on the fence is because some of what they said was right.
Yeah,
You
well,
should
so
protect your DNA.
we don't know. It's one of those things I think we're going to find out later about. But yeah, as soon as the trip codes were messed with, and there were people messing with the salt, and all these other things that were going on with the board. But as soon as that's in question, then you have to question the information as well, right? Because there's definitely interest in every way. So you have deep state infiltrating both to.
Did I lose you?
Tend to be one of us to boards. They're trying to break the trip codes. They're doing everything they can. And I believe that it's worth noting that as soon as there were questions around the validity, then all the posts related to that have to be called into question, at least, not considered in the same way.
Got ya. Dr. C, do you have an opinion on that?
Well, I would then pose another question as the answer, like, does it matter? Does it matter if they were real or not? It doesn't. And so at this point, like, no one's going to convince me otherwise. Q was legit. I don't care who tries to deny it, whether it be Flynn or Trump or anybody else for that matter. It was legit in the sense that, the statistical analysis was not a coincidence, but also because the purpose of the Q movement was to get us to wake up and to fight back and to do our own research and to tell others in order to wake everybody else up,
We're ahead of everyone, even Flynn.
Yeah. So public awakening and is game over. When the public wakes up, the majority of the public, and everybody kind of knows, then the game is over. The war is over. That's the biggest thing, is we're going to finally realize we got to stand up and say no more of this. It's not anything other than that. And so whether or not some posts that Q said were truthful or not, I don't think that point matters, because
people are awake.
Yeah, we're awake. That was the number one thing that the Q movement needed.
Nothing else mattered. It's waking them up and guiding them once they're awake. So another thing to keep in mind, if 94% are going to agree, how can you hate everyone? How can you hate people you disagree with? How can you hate and try to do harm to people that were supposedly on your same team? None of that makes any sense if you look at the fact of the truth is the truth. And we all want to expose it, and we all want to get to a place where we're okay and our children are okay. So I really don't comprehend anything outside of that.
That's all.
To me, there's really nothing. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I agree.
Go ahead, Al.
Yeah. I see the Q movement basically as creating emissaries that are going to be valuable later on. So not only do we fight for truth now to wake people up, but I believe that the thought would have been to have enough people that have at least some grasp of what's going on to be littered, maybe the wrong word, but spread across the country. So families, friend groups, communities, there'll be enough people that as things fall out, there'll be people there to be like, don't freak out, right? Like that are at least aware enough to the point that this is happening, and that to calm other people, basically soothe other people, right? Because we are getting to the point where there are going to be, I believe there's going to be a day the earth stood still at some point, right? That's going to kind of shake
Where
everybody.
the flood happens and the information comes out that even we haven't seen.
Yes, for
And
sure.
to your point, AO, like I was just answering a text message yesterday evening and this morning from it's a group chat that I have with some folks that are friends of mine, total normies. I mean, they're not liberals or anything, so they have conservative values and Christian values and support Trump and MAGA, but they don't know anything about Q. They don't. They're just. I've told them, what's coming, and there's been some. Okay, yeah, but we don't see it. But I don't disbelieve you, but I don't necessarily believe you. And now, what's the main thing everyone's talking about right now is this eclipse that's going to happen on the 8th, and they're like, hey,
Y'all are getting on my nerves with that, by the way. I want y'all to all know you're getting on my nerves.
like they're like, do we need
You're
to
getting on
panic?
my dang nerves. You ain't a prophet, and your mama ain't either. You tell your
Yeah.
grief to granny too. She ain't one either.
Like, but people are they're beginning to question. They're beginning to like try to prepare themselves, and
That
the
ain't a
ones.
reason to do it.
Well, I'm just saying, but these are normies, right? In the sense that they didn't follow Q, they're not involved, but they're seeing it in so many different places that there's the level of concern and anticipation, and so they're coming to those that have spoken about these types of events before and asking.
Whoever's talking about this eclipse is creating black pillars.
Well, I think, listen, uh, the amount of people talking about this and it's allowed to be proliferated the way it is, I wouldn't necessarily be focused on the eclipse so much as what are they doing when everyone's watching the eclipse.
They're all
Right.
driving to a line in the flipping country wanting to see it, and they're going to blame the traffic problems and everything else on, there's nothing great major catastrophe going to happen. Zero.
Oh, I don't think that there is either.
None.
But that's not the point. The point is like that people are like to what AO was saying, like we are there as a backdrop, as a failsafe, as a hey, don't panic, because we know what things should be, and we know that in the end, what happens is going to be for the victory for everybody, so that we all defeat evil, and that's what the whole Q movement is supposed
Us
to be
four
about.
agree with that, but you got half our movement posting the eclipse stuff with Marks talking about the secret languages, and what a major event it's going to be, and nothing happens, and it goes by, and it's nothing.
But Pepe, is a lot of it, and I'm going to add two other incidences to this to make my point. But is it possible that a lot of this is to further a conversation and get more people involved? Because we just watched General Milley talk about the United States corporation. We just watched Biden talk about the right roofs so that your house doesn't burn down. I don't necessarily think that
I did love that. I did repost that too, where he talked about that. Like, come on, guys, y'all gotta wake up a little bit.
I don't necessarily think that what they're doing is telling you the truth. What I think what they're doing is feeding the fire. And I think that the eclipse potentially is the same thing.
Or seeding the narrative.
Correct.
Either way, more eyes are on and paying attention because of this, and that's what's important. There's a Q post that says the whole world is watching. I mean, since 2017, the amount of people worldwide watching, I mean, it's got to be over 1 billion now, don't you think?
I get the enthusiasm. I just want to give a biblical balance.
Well, and I understand there's some health to that, but I don't think it's about whether or not you're right or wrong about what's going to happen on 4/8 so much as it is that, it's the people waking up to start guessing and questioning what's happening. And
well, use ivermectin, for example. I mean, this is a perfect example where we've been talking about this for years, how it's fine. The government itself that we're supposed to trust were the ones that were lying. Turns out we haven't changed our opinions at all. We were right to begin with. That helps validate other things.
Yes.
So there's confirmation happening in little bits here and there that where the conspiracy theorists are quote unquote batting 1,000 right now. I mean, not all theories obviously are true, but like we haven't necessarily been.
All mine are. I'm 1,000 right now, or seriously, I'm 1,000.
But it's about what we were saying back then, and they were calling us crazy liars for. Apparently, we were right, and where has there been one to date that has definitively proven that we were wrong? I mean, so that's where we were batting 1,000. There are some to be yet to be proven, but
let me take it for a second. I want to first of all say thank you to AMAX308, gave a $50 Rumble rant. You have no idea with a new platform how much I appreciate that. That same sentiment goes to all three of you for coming on here and helping me rebuild the platform that I left already.
Oh, we love you, Joe.
Yeah. The to come full circle on the question that you answered my question which was
does it matter?
Does it matter? This would be my answer to that question. And this is coming from a guy who started long after you all, right? So full story. However, when X kind of like opened the floodgates and allowed us to do it, I didn't have an old account to be reinstated. I started with 0, and I started with the basis of all of the knowledge that you guys laid before me, just like I talk about. And I looked at X as, okay, I'm going to enter the battlefield and I'm going to be one of these guys. I can't wait to do my part. And I went out there and I built it, and I've been blessed that a lot of people were attracted to it, shared it, and have followed it. Now, that being said, I was also multiple times now, and I'm asking this because I know you guys all have experience with this.
Have you ever been deleted?
Yes, many times.
Twitter?
Yeah, we've been deleted, not off of Twitter. No, I've been deleted off of Twitch. I've been deleted off of TikTok. I've been deleted off of all types.
IET was 350,000 like 11 times.
Well, that's why I'm asking this question, Pepe. That's why I'm asking. It's not just that. It's not just the silencing. It's also the targeted infiltration type things that have happened to me because of this account. So I've now had multiple times, and I'll just keep it surface level because I just want to hear you guys' experience. I'm not trying to attack anybody. I don't want to make it divisive, but it's a real thing. So I've been targeted or attempted to be recruited now multiple times into these groups, or when I asked about the drops being real or not, you're right, it doesn't matter as long as it furthers the conversation, as long as people keep awakening and
It's a psyop.
However, my question is, why are these nefarious groups and people behind it? So they have to have a goal. So you're right, it doesn't matter, but kinda, because I've now multiple times been tried to be pulled into these groups, used as a divisive tool, right? I know you guys have all been through it, and that's what I want to kind of hear about if we can go around the horn. Dr. C, I know I'm losing time with you, and I want to touch on your health stuff too. So do you want to touch on this quick before we do that?
Well, man, like if they can get people pissed off and disappointed and just beaten down because of how many times they're just wanting things to go right and then it doesn't, and their hopes are up and then back down, and hopes up and back down, that'll become too much of an emotional roller coaster and they'll just kind of quit, and that's what they're hoping people are going to do. But and to be fair, myself included, I took a year off when I was sick. I mean, not like totally off, but I wasn't really posting. I was kind of behind the scenes watching. So I think there's some health to being able to take time off, but at the same time, they're hoping people quit forever, right? And if they can, or slow down the progress, or get people black pilled, that's their whole objective.
Hey, what's your experience with this? Infiltrators, people lying, and
yeah, well, everyone has their agendas out there, right? We're all entitled to our opinions, but there are going to be efforts at this general idea that nobody within our ranks, because when we first started, to me, it was everyone was around us. We're all together, esprit de corps. We're got to stand up for the country and do what's right. The deep state already knew that Q was real while we're still trying to confirm it. So they had preceded our population behind enemy lines, their enemy, right, had people on our side. And so they use some of these over time. We've seen people turn, but this idea of trying to like create division, and they created all kinds of different means to argue that. For instance, the argument that you're gatekeeping information, just because if you have an opinion, and they use people against other people. I remember one of the problems that we had on Truth. I remember that they were going after people and they went after people that had small accounts and convinced them that the reason they have small accounts and no one pays attention to them is because the big guys suck all the air out of the room and they're controlling the conversation. And some of the people that had small accounts that are good people were like, yeah, we're getting screwed. And they turned good people against their own because, as we were told, I don't know how many times the Q mentions division, right? And we're told that there will be efforts to divide us. Then we see efforts to divide us, and some of our own people don't even recognize it. They become useful idiots.
All right, AO muted. Go ahead, Pepe. And
Go ahead, Pepe.
just fairly quick.
I just see like some of the people fall for it, and for me, like some of the events that they had that brought a lot of people together, like the pit, for instance, and Phillips, Greg Phillips, all that stuff that people didn't see, that he was trying to infiltrate our movement, in my opinion. And they wanted to make it about themselves. They wanted to make it about where everybody who had anything to do with them were taking other people down that had the most popularity, or it just seemed obvious to me, and even Lynn Wood and others that people looked at as, oh wow, he's drawing a Q. Like day one, I knew that guy was not on our team, and I had to put up with all my friends all around me liking people that I knew were against us. So it became very complicated to me because you had people who you've been friends with for since 18, and then you had people on the scene that were new and making waves. And I went to some of these things and I saw, what was going on, but it seemed like everywhere we turned, people were trying to tear down our movement and working together to take down the fact that all the research that we were doing, really, like everything that, in my opinion, that the IET had built with We the Media, that's really what they were targeting, was the unity that we had. And they did a good job at that, I have to admit. They tore that down, in my opinion.
Yep,
But you know what, though, Pepe? And like, as much as I loved doing We the Media, the reason We the Media existed was because of Telegram. And it was because when you wanted to go find information.
It was before that. It was before that. It was
well, we
like
had a
when
group
you're on
before
Twitter
that.
and you were getting deleted a lot, and we were all there. And how many times did you get brought back from nothing to 350,000 followers?
It's like 23,
I mean, that was amazing.
What's because
we can't hear you, Dr. C. Yeah, I couldn't hear you over Pepe. Say it again.
Oh,
sorry.
23 times. But it's it was because we were working together. This was before we were officially We the Media. But we had a group that we would help share each other's content in order to get past Twitter's algorithms. I mean, we were
the first war room, to be honest.
We were able to create trending on Twitter. I mean, it was just 30 of us at the time, maybe 31.
Do you remember why I say we're the first war room? Before there was a Steve Bannon, we had a war room.
Yeah.
That was the name of our private. Yeah.
And it was just, at the time, it was those of us that were successful enough to put together a following and had great information and content. Not all of us had the same beliefs, but it was just, how can we push out information and get enough eyes on it? I think one time we had trending about Obama I think it was over 2 million impressions, and it was the #1 trending on Twitter. I mean, it was ridiculous. And this is back in 2020, and we were talking about Obama, and we pushed that for a whole day. But it's just our efforts, right? And We the Media happened because of Telegram, where they kind of sequestered us into that one app. Parler went down. We all got kicked off of Twitter. Nobody was on Facebook anymore. And because Telegram, you have your own group, and unless you're part of the group and you go to that group, you wouldn't be able to see everyone's content. And so it's not like you could just retweet somebody and it shows up on a generalized homepage where everybody you're following, their content shows up in chronological order like Twitter and X do right now. So we joined together and actually put all of us into one group and then told everybody. And I think that was a landing page for a lot of people who had similar followers to be able to view information in one spot. We, the media, it was great for that purpose. But now that we're back and we have True Social, we have X, and we're back to allowed to be back on, it's not that we, the media, doesn't need it anymore, but it's kind of not needed anymore. You have the ability to view everybody that you follow's content in one spot as a generalized homepage, right?
Well, as somebody that witnessed it all happen from the outside, very outside, somebody that just consumed, it was brilliant. It was needed, and we're all grateful for it. I know we're running out of time here. Dr. C.
Dr. Craig was brilliant in what he did at that time, and it's very understated what he did for everybody, in my opinion. Like, if it weren't for Dr. Craig, nobody would know who I was. And let me put that in perspective. Maybe that's not a big deal to you. Maybe you don't care about that. That nobody would know who Pepe Deluxe is if it weren't for Dr. Craig starting with the media. But if you go to my Telegram and you go to my pinned post and you look, that's the prayer that we have for those that have never received the Lord in their life before. We have almost 1,000 souls that have prayed to receive the Lord. I'd love for you to go scroll through that. Anytime you feel like nothing's happening or, we have not made a difference. That's just me, and that's just because of what he included me in on. And the only reason that even happened was because he included me in on the 1871 dig. And I know when he posts that out, he puts his name on it, but hey, my name should be on that too, Craig. I did the prison part.
Hold on. Only because of time restraints. I would love to get into this. I think that I could hang out with the three of you for a good another 6 hours. But
we can do it again. We can do it again.
All right, good. That was going to be the first thing. I hope
Love you, Craig.
No, I know.
Dr. IT,
I'm gonna see you next week, Pepe.
Woo!
Well, you have an open door with me. I would love to sit and talk to you again one-on-one, or bring these guys on and we all do it. But you do have just a few minutes left if you want to take the reins here and say anything you got. I'm sorry for the time restraint, but I know you wanted to talk about your healing thing, and I watched your whole video. You are a very smart man. So do you want to say anything before you get out of here, or let everybody know where they can find you?
I don't even know that I could summarize it in the 3 minutes that we have left, but essentially, long story short, and we can have another episode or wherever we get into this in more detail, but
yes, please.
I got really sick. Nobody knew what was wrong. I had multiple systems and neurological dysfunction and organ failure. And it was bad, and nobody could figure out what it was. And essentially I, through a series of statistical impossibilities myself, landed in a guy whose name is Dr. Guillermo Vasquez's office, who had figured out essentially a way to determine a combination, and that combination could unlock your central nervous system from its ability to communicate and operate and heal and regenerate the human body. And I was first a patient of it. And so it was my last resort. I was having seizures. I was having, you name it, it was bad. And what he did for me, in about 10 seconds after he did it, like 90% of what I was dealing with was gone. And then over the course of, the next, still to this day, making more and more and more improvements. It's just been miraculous. Let's just say it that way. And it's the body's innate ability to heal itself. And we've all been told that, you look at your arm, you cut it, it should heal. You shouldn't have to tell it to. When you're talking about COVID, you have an innate immune system. It should be able to fight off and develop antibodies against it. You don't need a vaccine. It's this design that you're a self-healing, self-adapting, self-regulating organism. And to be able to have access to that, you can lose it to some degree by having these traumas to your head and neck that essentially put tourniquets and locks around your brainstem. And if you undo them, and you can have multiple, but if you undo them, you can get all of that back. And so, from something as crazy as cerebral palsy, multiple sclerosis, tremors, essential and non-essential tremors, traumatic brain injuries, CTE, which is the chronic traumatic encephalopathy. That's what football players are complaining about right now in the NFL. I mean, every condition that you can think of. It's not that we treat disease. It's just that when you open it up, your body responds to it, recognizes it, and then goes about healing it. And when you can restore that, it's for just about anybody, it's the same. Now, obviously, there's some other variables involved. You know, there's nutrients that are required. There's toxicity that you could have. And there's waste system removal that you can have problems with, that you can build up metabolic waste inside. But if you can address those things, starting with unlocking your essential nervous system, your body goes about healing itself in a very measurable way. And I pretty much do that full time now. And so much so that I'm going out to North Carolina. Pepe D has an office that I'm allowed to work out of in the East Coast of the United States. People are traveling to come see and get this done for themselves. And so I know that we're going to be there next week. And we have 120 people on schedule for 4 days. Like, it's just wild.
Well, Pepe D, I think after you bounce out of here, is going to give us some firsthand experience of what he saw as far as your work's concerned the last time. So I know you got to go. Can you just tell everybody where they can find you? And I will definitely stay in touch with you if you want to do this again. I feel like we got so much more to talk about.
Yeah, we can do it. We can do it next time. And we'll talk a lot more about it because there's so much that you can say that it could be its own show. I could talk for several hours about this.
Nice.
But let me just, I think.
Not as cool as I can by observing for 4 days. I can't wait to tell you.
So I think I put in there in the chat below, there's my Substack. And that's got a lot of the information about what it is that I do and some information about how it works. And further, Mike, I got, Twitter handles. So Twitter is DrC _ IET 17. This is X. I don't even like calling it X, but
it's Twitter.
It's Twitter to me, dude. Yeah, for sure. And then True Social. I'm still there as @InevitableET on True Social. And I'm on Telegram every now and then, mostly because there's still people that follow me there, and I don't know that they have these other accounts, and maybe they're from other countries or whatever it is they're doing.
I'm a total skeptic, and I thought what Dr. IET done to me was like minimal. I thought it was like boring. It didn't do anything, and then all of a sudden, I had a bad cold where my ears had stayed clogged up for way too long.
Hold on, Pepe, because I want to hear your testimony, but he's got to go. So let's just sorry. I don't want to hold him up. I don't ever want anybody to feel pressured to stay on here. I want to hear your testimony about everything you saw and what you went through. Dr. C, it has been an absolute honor. I can't wait to do it again. Your knowledge and the things you've gone through within this movement and what you do in your practice is invaluable to the movement and everybody around you. So thank you very, very much for coming on. I just wanted to make sure that I said thank you, and I can't wait to do it again.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I'd be happy to do it again. Bring AO and Pepe too. We have more. We can get more people to come hang out as well. But if you wanted to do one-on-one, we just got to plan it in advance, man. I got no issues doing it. I just need to have time in my schedule, because I do this like 10, 11 hours a day easy.
Yeah,
so
I get it.
It's good, man. Thank you for having me, and it's good hanging out with you guys and AO and Pepe and you, Joe. So we'll talk to you guys soon. And Pepe D, I'm gonna see you next week on Tuesday, brother.
Woo! Can't wait.
Love you, Craig.
Yeah, I love you, dog. All right, peace.
Thanks, brother. I appreciate you. How cool was that? All right, Pepe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, man, don't ever feel like that, bro. I think you're a way better host than I could ever be. And what you do is like a skill, and I don't have it. And I learn a lot just by being here. But
I'm well aware what it's like to have to go to work and you're up against the clock. And so I just wanted to make sure I was respectful of that. But I want to hear what you had to say.
Oh no, just saying that like when I'm here and people come in, you see every walk and you see everybody, and some people they go and they do their thing and it doesn't seem like anything, and then other people while they're doing it, like they go through shakes and this and that. And like, it's unbelievable to me to see the responses of the people that have never been a part of what he's doing. And I can't describe it versus like what a regular chiropractic visit would be, other than he's not doing back cracking, and he's looking for a reset button is the best way I can put it. And when I didn't think anything of it when he did it with me. I didn't think anything of it. But the next day I had clogged ears because of my colds. They were all gone. Like everything, all the aches and things that was going on with me after that event, and after he did the same thing to me, I became a bigger believer. And I'm a big skeptic, you know, those kind of things. I thought chiropractors were all fruitcakes, to be honest with you. And the more I studied what he did and what happened to me, it was amazing. And I would encourage anybody that's having trouble with their back or neck or shoulders, anything like that. And there's a lot more reasons I would check him out. Come see us.
Ashley, you just asked what Dr. C's Telegram channel is. I put it in the yeah, there you go. You said thank you. You saw it. I put it in the chat.
Dr. Craig is one of the OG anons of all anons.
Yeah, I'm going to actually have to see Dr. C myself at some point. Just geographically, it's too far. But for those that don't know, he's just looking to mainly manipulate your C1 vertebrae, connects right to your skull, because turns out most people that have had concussions or been in a wreck or anything, that's out. And if your hose is pinched off at the very top, see, most chiropractors deal with all the other vertebrae down your back. But if that first one is out, then the others, it doesn't matter how many times you align them. So it's pretty miraculous. It's worth looking into for sure, and watching his video, because it blew my mind.
Yeah, he's awesome. Do you guys want to call it for today and do it again, or would you like to hang out for another half hour? Because I still got content and things we could talk about, but I also respect you two for having a day and a life. So
yeah, well, I do have to run. I do have to run myself.
Okay.
I do too, brother.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what.
Obligations.
I have kids getting home from school soon. I got to get out here.
Yeah, I gotta get kids lacrosse too, so that's cool. I'll tell you what, this was awesome. You guys, I already gave you the intro I gave you. You know, you both mean the world to me. I absolutely adore and love you both. So thank you very much. Thank you, Pepe, for hooking up Dr. C and coming on today.
Love you guys.
We could do content for days and days. I hope that we can do this again with him. So
all you want.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. Ayo, thank you, buddy.
All right. Hey, appreciate it, man. Thank you for everyone being here.
The way I'm going to go out today for you two before we bounce, I've been trying to give just like different spotlights every day. So we did the first show, we did Patriot Art Farm's son, the autistic kid that did the music, and then we gave we also gave We Got Your Six the spotlight the one time. I'm actually going to use them again today. So we're going to give We Got Your Six, which SSG is the guitar player of. He comes on the show all the time. I'm in talks with 17th and Stormy Patriot Joe with potentially being able to sit down and talk to them. So I wanted one more time to play out something really cool that was produced within this Patriot movement from a bunch of amazing anons. I think it's a really cool way to go out of here. So you guys, you know all that. You guys both, Pepe, you were in the one video. I forgot. You were in the last one I played. That was cool. All right. So I'm going to play them, guys. Thank you again very, very much for coming on, and we'll do this again soon.
All right. Thanks. See you, Pepe.
See you.
Bye, buddy.
We got this anon, stay together. Be strong, get organized, stay together. We are with you. We are with you. We are with you. Hold the light for the lost to follow. Hold the light and maybe tomorrow more will come in time. Help us hold the light. We got this and on, stay together. Be strong, get organized, stay together. We are with you. We are with you. We are with you. Fight the censorship, you the people. Have all the power, you've simply forgotten how to play. We are with you. We are with you. We got this and on, stay together. Be strong, get organized, stay together. We are with you. We are with you. We are with you. Oh, together you are invincible. Together you are stronger. They want you divided and silenced. Stay with me and now get ready and make some noise. They sold us while we were asleep and told us it was all a dream. But one by one we wake and fight to push the darkness back. We got this and on, stay together. Be strong and organized, stay together. We are with you. We are with you. We are with you. Make it
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
So I don't normally do this, but I'm coming back on for a reason real quick before I bounce out of here. I do not want anyone to support this show without getting recognized. And first of all, I did this one once, Amax 308 with the $50 Rumble rant. Thank you very, very much. And then Mark Vegas also gifted a $25 Rumble rant and said, great show, fellas. So it looks like there's still more people in here because of the way that that ended. If you're still here and you got to hear me call out Mark Vegas for giving a $25 Rumble rant, I am going to keep my promise. I promised you all that I would give away a bag of coffee, and I didn't remember it or to say thank you to Mark until the outro was going on. So if you're still here and you hung out and you watched the whole We Got Your Six video and you're still hanging out, please, by all means, put a 5x5 in the chat. And I am going to pick a random number in my head. And the first, when that person hits that number, and if you're still here, you are going to get a bag of coffee sent out to you just like Pepe of Kekistan got. All right. So I see one. All right. So people actually stayed for that whole video. I'm grateful for you. So please put a 5x5 as soon as you get to the number I'm thinking of. That's 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm going to tell you right now, it's not 17. It's not 17. But if you hung out for this whole thing, you deserve it. 1, 2, 3, 4. You guys can do it multiple times. I know most people probably bounced out because they thought it was over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. SSG. Glad everybody watched. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Give me one more. There it is. Crepe game 1. Crepe game 1. That was the number in my head. I usually give that to a guest to do. Well, I love you too, Benz. So crepe game, you're the winner today. Just tell me in somehow, either go to the hard comments on this show and let me know what your handle is, or get my attention on our Telegram, which is Rambo and Frens, or get my attention on X. If I already follow you, just hit me up in DMs, and privately, you can just give me somewhere to send it. I don't care if it's a PO box. I don't care if it's your ex-girlfriend's house. I don't care if it's your house. It will always stay private. I'm not using this for any other information other than to promote the coffee and to show appreciation for all you guys that are out here supporting me and all the amazing people that we have on here and getting our message out and building this new platform. So, Crepe Game, congratulations. You won coffee for today. Get in touch with me so I can send it to you. Pepe of Kekistan, if you see this, when you get yours, please let me know what you think, as you got 2 bags because the other person that day didn't want to get their bag. So you got one from Beer at the Parade and me as well. So you got Rambo and Beer at the Parade. Crepe Game, let me know in some sort of way whose coffee you want and where I can send it. And I will be doing that this afternoon. Thank you guys all very, very much. I hope AO and Pepe see this. I absolutely love those two. And Dr. Craig, man, what an honor. So that was really cool. I can't wait to do it again. I do work day shift next week, so I'm hoping that Lori will be posting some of the old shows from Brainstorm that we did entitled Rambo and Frens. I don't want to lose those shows, so they'll be popping up on the channel. I am going to attempt to upload this to YouTube. We'll see if they let that fly or not, but that's the intention. I didn't do it live over there because I knew this was going to be very heavy into the boards, but we'll see. We'll see if they let me upload it. Thank you very much. And Crepe Game, hit me up. We'll get you some coffee. And please, if you want some coffee, go out there and buy it. Excuse me. That's covfefe.coffee. And please support Mike Lindell. It supports the show, and it allows me to keep doing this on my free time when I'm not working. I love you guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.